Hey, hey, it's 2020. Hey, hey, it's 2020. Yeah. Good morning. Hello, coders. Having a little dance there, a little jig there. Um, it's the first ever How to Code Well live stream of 2020. This is awesome. Thank you ever so much for following on and joining me this morning. It is 7:03 in the morning. Bigger up to the early bird massives. So, what are we doing today? There is a bunch of things that I need to do today, but primarily, if you've got any questions that you want to ask, then please do tappy tap on the keyboard and ask them in the stream because I will be more than happy to answer questions or just chat amongst you lot. But what I would like to try and achieve today is, well, there's two things. First of all, we're going to be looking at the chain of responsibility. This is a design pattern. I'm going to be doing it in PHP. This is following on from this is building the design patterns course that I'm doing. I'll explain more about that in just a second. Secondly, there's some announcements that I want to make. There's some things that I want to talk about and discuss. There's some community news as well, and I'll probably get onto that sort of like midway into the stream. These streams usually last for about sort of an hour and a half before I have to crack on with my own work. Before I do any of that stuff, though, let me just talk a little bit about bits and pieces. So, I hope everybody has had a wonderful Christmas and a fantastic New Year, and everybody is raring to crack on and get some write some code, learn some code. And I just want to say a massive thank you very much to. Let me go down my list here. Wow, there's so many people. So thank you very much. We'll start right at the bottom here. Okay, Marco8137. Thank you very much. Slayer Dar. Thank you. Fry Zig. Fleeper00. Xcute. Celsimore. Just another lurker. That is an awesome username, isn't it? And Math Jesus for following. I do appreciate all of you for following along. This is awesome. I love how the community is growing. It's great. And thank you ever so much for people who have joined the Discord server. That is brilliant. Over the holidays. And some really interesting discussions about coding on the Discord server too. Okay, let's crack on. Let's get into the code. I'll see if I can find the right button, shall I? That one. Okay, so this is our design patterns course. Let me just have a little chat about what this is. So this is the course that I'm building, and I have been building. I started this last year. This is how long this course is. It's huge, and this will cover all of the design patterns in PHP, all of the known documented design object-oriented patterns in PHP, and there's a fair amount of them. There's huge amounts of them. We have here, if we go into the actual code, so we go into the code folder, the SRC, we have sections, and in these sections we have behavioral, creational, and structural. These are the categories of these design patterns. We're going to work on the behavioral one today. There isn't many of these that we have left to do, which is good, but there is one I have to add, and that is the chain of responsibility. So we've got the chain of responsibility to do. We've got some other ones as well, a visitor pattern to do as well, and some others in here. And then we've got the creational, and then we have the structural to work through. So there's a lot of things. And what I'm doing is on these streams, I'm going through each, a stream per pattern and working through them. And I say this is for a course. What this will do, this code will then be used for a tutorial course that I'm building later in the year. So I'm just at the moment getting the code ready for that. This is actually part of the course. You'll get this course. You'll get the code. Apologies. You'll get the code when you get the course, and you'll also get the slides here. So the slides are the things that I'm going to be using to have a little bit of. I'm considering maybe a green screen. I'm considering some sort of talking head overlay on these slides, and I've actually just got the slides running here. So what I want to do is I'm going to just dive into this. Where did this go? This went somewhere, didn't it? This went to... you got to tell me where that went. Is it some sort of... Oh, of course, it went in here. So that's in dist. Let me just go through the slides. There we go. Let's start where we mean to go. So on the index here. Open this up in a browser. I have to bring that one over here. Boom. This is the slide deck. And I was playing beforehand about, should I use Gatsby? Should I use something else to, create these slides? I don't know. I'm still unsure. It's a bit of a chore to do this, and really, I'm diverting away from my time of this course. So I don't know if I'm going to be redoing these slides in Gatsby yet. But we're going to add a section to the behavioral one here, which is chain of responsibilities. We've done, say, the command, for instance. I'm going to be talking about the concept, and I guess around here would be my talking head. And then, this is the concept. So you have the receiver, the command interface, and then demonstration of two commands. So command A, command B. This is the invoker here. And then this is the real world example. And the real world examples are the examples that I'm going to be demonstrating through these Twitch streams. Okie dokie. So that's the way we want to go. So what I need to do is create a new section in here called chain of responsibility, and we also need to build the concept, and we also need to build the real world example. And I've got some announcements to make later on in the stream. And I'm probably going to be sipping on a lot of tea, because you could probably notice I have a cold. I have a bit of an illness, which is annoying. So yeah, there's a fair amount to do. However, if anybody wants to chat, then please do so, because this, I'm more than happy to just keep pressing buttons and chatting. And if we don't do this today, we don't do this today. It's in no great shakes, to be honest. Okay, so the first thing I am going to do, I think the first thing I'm going to do is work on the slides. That's probably where the easiest part of this. I'm in watch mode here. Can you see down there? I'm in watch mode, which means that anything I do to these slides, including adding slide files, will change the slides. So we're just going to create a new one here. It is chain of, I'm going to do all one word, because no underscores. If we had a look at the null object there, that is underscore. So chain of, it's always good, of course, to keep responsibilities. It's always good to keep convention, right? Responsibility. Chain of responsibilities. Tease. Hello, Ternid. Tease. I don't know. Tilities. Oh, bites. What I'll do in my laziness, let's just Google that word. Responsible. It's too early for this. Responsibilities. Oh, wow. That's how you spell it. Okay. Dearie me. That's going to get me a lot. Right. Okay. Chain of responsibilities. Whew. Hiya, Tyrannid. I hope you've had a good holiday. Hope you've had a good time and a bit of rest, a bit of chill out time. Thank you very much for contributing on the Discord server as well over the holidays. I do appreciate that. Let me see if I can take that away. I don't think we need that. I'm gonna bung it in here, aren't I? So I will worry about all of these concepts and real world examples in just a second. So I'll just put in a slide down there for it. And this here is going to be that word again. Let's refactor, rename. Copy that, put that into here. Chain, and it's camel case, I think. Are we doing camel? Are we doing, yeah, capitalized camel case? So responsibilities of responsibilities, and this I'm just going to put in as view here, like there. Okay. Yeah. What is rest? What is rest? There's this crazy thing that people do. It's called resting, and I've never heard of it. I've never heard of it. It seems boring. And unproductive. Yeah. Oh, wow. First cup of tea of the day. Wow. Okay, so I will fill in the blanks. I'll fill in the blanks in a bit. Let me just grab that and put this up here. It is the it is the chain of, and I'm missing the F. Responsibilities, missing the F down here. Okay, cool. Am I missing? No, I'm not missing the F there. All right. Okay, let me grab that and create. Well, first of all, let me see. I did say it did rebuild itself. How so has it? Yes, it has rebuilt itself because it's put that in there, chain of responsibilities, and you can see all the spelling mistakes. So I should now also be able to go to the index page, which is somewhere here, and I should be able to put this in. Well, where should I put it? Where should I put it? Let's just put it at the bottom. I will probably reorder this at some point. So I'm not going to use, I don't think I'm going to use Gatsby as a means of creating these slides, because I just think it's going to take too long to do, and this is time that I don't have. So I think, I've got something that kind of works now, and I can style it. I can pass in the CSS. Where's that? Come on. Give me my CSS. There we go. I can pass in my own theme. So I've got something to play with. It's not going to be great, but I think getting this course out and getting the JavaScript course out is where I really want to go this year. And then maybe we can revamp it later with a better sort of way of creating the slides. But really, if I spend too much time on the slides and not enough time on the actual course itself, the actual content of the course, then and to be honest, all I want to achieve is just to have a little bit more of a fancy sort of slide deck, and I think I can achieve that anyway using the theme that we pass into MARP. I just have to learn how they do it. So anyway, let me see. Where did that go? That went to dist. Chain of responsibilities. Don't know why there's two in there. Let's remove that one. That's probably because of the spelling. But what I want to do is I want to hit the index page, and I want to open that up, and I'll drag that into there. And we're going to click on this one, and it should be at the bottom, chain of responsibilities. Click on that chain of responsibilities pattern. It is a behavioral design pattern. Awesome. And I'll talk about the concept and then going into the real world example. Awesome. Right. Now it's time to build the real world example. So let's come away from there. Right. What I want to do, of course, is copy that and put this in here and create a new directory called chain of responsibilities. We're also going to have a view. There was another thing that I wanted to do with the theme, of course, is I wanted to remove all of the sub directories. So it would just go iterator, boom, that's your example. And I guess I'm kind of doing it here with the view here. So I'm just going to copy the view and put this in here. Okay. All right, so that's the view of the iterator that I've just copied across. But we want to focus on the chain of responsibilities. I'll tidy this up in just a second. All right, so what on earth is the chain of responsibilities, eh? What's all that about? So, the chain of responsibilities is a fantastic way of giving responsibility to other objects in a chain. Think of a chain, think of all the links in the chain, and think of the chain being a linear thing, right? So you start from one link and you go to the next link and you go to the next link and you go to the next link. You can only go from one link to the other. You can't suddenly go to link 2 or link 10. You have to go through link 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 before you get to link 10. That's the whole point of this linear chain. And what you're doing essentially is you're passing values from one to the other to the other to the other, and you can use this as in things like checking if you want to check certain things. And it means that you can add new links to the chain. It means that you can add, and you don't have to just add a link to the end of the chain. You can add a link anywhere in the chain to make the chain bigger or remove a link depending on what it is that you want to do. A lot of examples out there are, say, like authentication, when there's many ways or many things that one has to check at once. So, for example, is the username, does that exist? Is the password correct? Do they have enough roles and responsibilities? Have they been given enough access to do what they want to do? Is there? It could even be things like requests throttling. So has this request come in really quickly in the last sort of second? Has there been? Is this a bot? This kind of thing. And you can add all of these little checks. And if you think of how this would work without any kind of design patterns, if you think about the most terrible case of this, you would end up with a bunch of if, else, if, else, if, else, else, if statements, and it would just, or one crazy massive switch statement, and then in each case you would have many, many if statements and a lot of duplicated code. If you wanted to create this as a sort of a chunky monkey type thing. So this chain of responsibilities allows you to get around that by by passing from one check to the other check and so forth. That's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to just grab some, I'm going to just blow my nose because I've got a cold. I will be back very, very shortly. See you in a minute. I totally forgot to put the BRB screen on. I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you get a cold, right? You get a cold. People come and stay and they're full of germs or whatever. Not that I'm blaming anyone for this cold. Grr. Okay, so the chain of responsibility. You essentially are able to send some values through this chain, which means that the links in the chain need to handle whatever you're sending that across. And depending on what they return, decides whether or not they go to the next link, and so what you would end up doing is you would have a way of handling this. So you would have your handler, and the handler would have a way of linking to the next link in the chain, right? So that's how you would do it. And then you would in the actual code, in the code where you're actually setting all this up, you would create your different handlers. So these are the concrete classes. So the first handler, the second handler, or if we're talking about the authentication, it would be existing user check. It could be something like password check. It could be something like role check, and then it could be something like request limiter check or something like that. And then you would chain all these up together. So you would set all of these things in one sort of chain, and then you would run whatever you want through the chain, pass it all the way down the chain. And if one of those links fails, then the subsequent links don't get called. And when it comes out of that link, all the way, when it comes out of that chain, right at the bottom of that chain, that's when things work and pass, and, there you go. So, without further ado, that's a lot of chatting. Let's get on and write some code, shall we? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a handler. Okay, so we're going to do a PHP file here, and I think I'm going to call this we're just going to call this handler, I think. Handler, all right? This is going to be our base handler, I guess you could call it. For speed and simplicity, I'm just going to copy all of this stuff over here, just so I've got some bits and pieces already to play with. So we don't need the execute, we don't need the constructor, but we do need, let's call that handler. It's not going to implement anything, but we do need to have a successor. Now, if you think of the successor as the next link, all right? Successor. It is itself a handler. Now that might be a bit confusing, but this will hopefully make some sense soon. Let me just put in chain. This is not command, this is chain. Chain of responsibility. I'm going to get that wrong. Of course I am. Chain of responsibilities. So yeah, what we do is we pass in a successor, and obviously if you're at the end of the chain, of this chain, the successor might be null. So it could be null. So we need a way of setting the successor. So we do a public function. Whoa. Public function. I can't spell public. Public function set successor. All right. And this takes a handler, which it will make sense. I appreciate it will make sense. Why are we setting the same thing? Because this is going to be in fact, let's just do that now. This is going to be an abstract class. Hence it doesn't have a constructor. It is not our concrete class, it is our abstract class, which other classes then extend from. Okay, so this just does this set. No. This successor is equal to handler. There we go. So this is our setter method. All right. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to issue out, add more T, abstract public function handle. Because we want all the handlers that extend from the handler to have the mechanism of handling. And we're going to pass in something here. So let's just do a value of, this by the way is just our concept right now. This isn't like a real world thing. I'll turn it into a real world thing soon. Okay, so that's the handle there. setup, we're going to create our first handler. So we're going to copy this and we're going to put it in here. So this is first handler. In fact, I will change this to links in a minute, I think, probably rather than handler. But first handler is a class. It is a concrete class. It is a concrete class that extends handler. Okay. Now, this means that we don't need this anymore, obviously, because that's the extension. But we do need a method that handles the value. There we go. Okay, so that's the first handler, and obviously, if we save that, we can have a second handler. Woo! So let's put that in here, second handler. All right. Now, the idea is that for each one of the handlers themselves, they have the handle method, which will handle the value that we're passing through. These both extend the handler. The handler has the set successor public method. And the idea is that once you've handled your thing, you then move it on to the next successor. So let me grab some tea. Excuse me. Okay. So if we were to do in the index here, let me just do the index. Let's do something like, I don't know, let's do a crazy concept. Let's grab that a minute. Bung this in here, chain of responsibility example of responsibilities example. Okay, so the idea is that we want to have a value because that's what we're going to start with. So let's say the value is X, or value here is A, right? And we want to pass this through the different ways of handling. So let's get rid of all of this gumph. We don't need any of that. And get rid of all of that stuff. We don't need any of this. So let's say, for example, we want to do, let's say we want to instantiate the first handler. First handler is equal to new first handler. All right. We also are going to instantiate the second handler as well. So this is the second handler, and as you can imagine, there will be third handlers, fourth handlers, all sorts of things. Second handler. And then once you've got all the, let's just do a third one. Just to, 3 is always a good number, isn't it? So let's put in 3 here, third. The next handler, all right? Factor rename. I've spelled that wrong, haven't I? Yeah. Silly me. THIRD. Third handler. All right. Okay, so we have our ways of handling our things. And in the view here, we're just going to instantiate the third handler. Third handler. Okay, like this. Okay. And what we need to do is we need to chain these all up together. So what we do is we do a come on. Yeah. So we do first handler, set successor, second handler. Wow. Okay. we do first handler, set successor, third handler. I've gone and messed that up, haven't I? That needs to be third handler. Set successor, third handler. Or if you really wanted to, you could do second handler, set successor, third handler. Put this right at the top here. Doing it backwards. This means that now you have your link, right? You have your link, which is pretty handy. And then what you would do, let me bring that back to what it was though, is down here you would have results is equal to first handler handle, and you're handling the value, and the value here is set to A. So let's just set A up here. And the thing is, what we're doing is we're passing A to these things, and they're handling this. So if we clicked on handle here, if we changed the handle to actually return a boolean, so if that was a bool, and yes, I haven't put the body in for all of these things yet. I will do. I'm just trying to get my head. I'm just trying to get the concept out at this present second. Bool. Okay, so we've got the second handler, all of this stuff, and that. Awesome. So let's go to here. Okay, so then that becomes our result, which means that in here, in the actual handling mechanisms, we can now do an if value is whatchamacallits, then we pass it on to the next result. So let me have some more of my tea. Now, you could for some better cohesion, you could say, well, instead of having the handler as abstract, right, and instead of having the way of doing all of these things in each one of their classes, you could actually work through this. So you could create this as a parent. You could say, instead of abstract, this is a protected, right, way of handling. And what you could do here is you could have response is equal to some way of dealing with a processor, right? So you could do this process passing in the value, right? Now the value, it's the process itself will be the abstract thing that goes down to each one of the classes. So here we would have abstract, and we would have an abstract function, public function, which is process, passing in a string, which is a value. Okay, so this is the handler. This is the thing that all of them will now have. And depending on the response, so we can do if response, we could pass it to the successor. So then we could do response is equal to this successor handle, passing in the value. All right, so this becomes our little traffic light system now. And obviously, set successor can be null, so we need to check for that. So let's do if true, 1, 2, 3, and this successor is not null. We could probably fix that a little bit better, actually, rather than null. No, we'll leave it as null. Okay, and then what we do here is we tidy this up and we return the response. Excuse me. The response here. All right, so this is our little traffic light system. This is the thing that will say if the response is true and we have a successor, then move on to the next one. Move it on to the next one, please. Let's do a little bit of tidying up. Put some BODMAS in this. Okay. All right. Okay. So now we need to have we have the processor under here. Now the processor is going to process, and this is the thing that instead of having the processors in each one of these, handlers in each one of these, we have the process here. In these things, process. And the process will return a Boolean. Okay, all right. Let's just read through this. So we got the first, second, and third handlers here. We are setting on the first handler. We're setting the successor to the second handler, and we're also on the second handler. We're setting the successor on the third handler. Really, that should be the other way around. This should be, first handler, third handler, and then first handler. This now runs, what's going on here? Why is that? Member has protected access. Okay. Yeah, I think that needs to be public rather than protected. Yeah. And it really should be final as well, because we don't want to allow other objects to other classes to manipulate this handling mechanism. We only want them to manipulate the process. Okay, so let's see if we can actually get this actually doing something. That would be good, wouldn't it? So let's say, okay, on the first handler here, what we want to do is we want to do if value I don't know, equals. Let's do let's now move this away from the concept and move this into, no, actually, let's keep it as is. Let's say value is equal to, I don't know, if string of the value 1, 2, 3 is equal to, let's do 1, and we can tidy this up a little bit. We can do return totally forgotten how to do those. String, so that's true. No. Other side, come on, other side. You've been writing PHP over the holidays, Pete. You should know how to do this. False. There we go. All right, so that's the first handler. The second handler will check the actual value of this thing. So if value 1, 2, 3 is A, then what we want to do here is we want to return. Again, this is just a concept. True or false. And let's say the third handler, I don't know. How are we going to check that? Let's do something very similar to this on the third handler, but let's I let's just add that in. Okay, that's that, whatever. It's just a concept, just a concept. Okay, so now we have our processes and we have our handlers. On the index, we can now handle this, and I'm just going to do var dump of results. Result will return the response for each one of these things. So I should now be able to load up the local host here, and I should be able to do PHP hyphen s hyphen t, and this is not the command, this is chain of responsibilities. It is in view here, and it's in index. Okay, let's press that. It's not a directory. No, yes it is. There we go. Okay. Okay, we've got an autoloader issue here. I think that needs to be, I think I need to actually run the autoloader itself. So let's do a composer. Does composer live in there? No, it lives in code, doesn't it? Does it? Yeah. Let's do a composer install. There we go. And let's see, can I run this again? I'm gonna have to come out of that directory. Okay, we have failed to open stream. No such file or directory. Require once. Something's complaining about my in here. This is complaining. Oh, it's because I've gone and removed the directories. This is a different file path. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let's bring this back up to the top here. We can see that it's returned true. Whoops, true, like that. Let's just hack this up. Let's say on the second direct handler, we want to make sure that this is actually returning B. All right. So that is why did that come? That should hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. What's going on here? So second handler, first success is second handler. Okay, we're checking that. Handle process. Something isn't wired up properly. Wonderful. Okay, this first handler, we were setting the successor of the second handler, which is this one here. Let's not worry about the third handler. Is it because I was wiring this up wrong? There we go. Yes, it was because I was wiring this up wrong. Of course, this needs to be second handler passing in the third handler, of course, and we do need to do it backwards like this. So this should return now false, and if we were to put the second handler back to A, this should now check that. That should now return true. There we go. Okay, awesome. More T. So now we have the mechanism of wiring up all of these handlers. Now these are pretty noddy, to be honest. I mean, come on, they're just checking a single thing, but this gets around the fact of having all of these really horrible sort of messy else if statements, and you can using the solid principles where you're creating a function that does one thing and one thing well. This is just sort of emphasizing that. Okay, so that's the concept. I think what I'm going to do is put this down into the slides, and then what I'll do is I'll change all of this to be more of a real world example, and we'll probably use the username password type thing as that. So I'm just going to throw all of these things in here. If we scroll up to the top to this point here, Okay, scroll. Okay, so what we want to do, the first thing we want to do is we want to define is to put in the handler here. So I'm going to copy this all, and down in the depths of that, we're just going to put in PHP, and we're going to paste that in. I'm not sure this is all going to fit on the same thing. I'll probably have to remove the comments here. Let me just see if we go back to. No, there was another. I'm sure there was. I probably have removed it, haven't I? Let's go back to this slide deck here, and go into the dist folder. Where did that live? There. There we go. Yeah, and behavioral. Let's open up the chain of responsibilities a minute. Open that up as a file. Okay, the concept. Okay, no, it is all working on one. That's good. However, we don't need to have on here. We don't need to have the namespaces because this is just a concept. We don't need any of this stuff. That should make it a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Whoops. All right. So there's the concept for the handler. And then what we need to do is we need to put in another slide. We do this using the 3 dashes in here. And again, this is PHP. And if we add a look at the sections here, so we do behavioral, chain of responsibilities. We can do the first handler. This is what we need here. Scroll to the bottom, get to the chain of responsibility. No, not that one. That's the dist folder. That's the thing that gets created automatically. It's this one here. And then we could just copy this one up here, call it the second handler. I should probably copy what we have, to be honest. One, two, three. Go in as PHP. There we go. That's the second one. I don't think I'm going to bother with the third one because it's pretty much the same. But we need to put in this stuff here. One, two, three. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, no, that was right, wasn't it? PHP. Okay, so we got the first handler. We're not going to worry about that. No, we should worry about the third handler. Come on, because it does show, you know, when you've got an example and you've got 3 things in the example, it does make more sense. So, okay, let's just put in the third handler here. I think what I'm going to do is take that and put that up into chain of responsibilities here. There we go. Go in as PHP. No. It's up here. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna play around with this a little bit. I think the first one we're gonna check. That will be the second one. Whoops. This will be the first one here. We'll be checking whether or not it's empty. If it is not empty, if empty is false, 2, 3, then we return true or false. There we go. Okay, that's probably, and then we check that there is only one, and then we check that it's A. There we go. I mean, it's pretty naughty stuff at the moment, but let's get into the real world stuff now. I'm gonna grab some tea, I think, because my throat is dying. I'm gonna grab some tea. I'll be back in a couple of minutes, and I will see you. I'll see you soon. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. All right. Cheers.